Live.
Thank you, Anza. My name is Syed Wajahat, and basically this session is about discussing the disrupting technologies in the EdTech sectors. And we have a very diverse group of panelists with us as well today. We have Hassan with us, Hassan bin Rizwan, who is the CEO and co-founder of Sabak. We have Fahad with us, who is the CEO and co-founder with EdCasa. Faisal is about to join, who basically run the startup named as Learning Heart. And then we have Mahnoor, who represent the Redtune as a group vice president. Redtune is a telecommunication solution provider. So thanks a lot, all of you guys, for joining this session. We have a very short time, just 30 minutes to discuss some very important topics. So let's start with the session. And I will start with Hassan. Hassan, you are among those startup players in the market who have been into EdTech from last 4 or 5 years, I can safely put around, or maybe more than that. Sabak has done wonders when it comes to not only the Pakistani market, but as well as the international market as well. You are quite successful in getting some very good recognition and awards worldwide as well. If you compare the Pakistani market with the international market, Hassan, where do you see Pakistan EdTech players in the EdTech players landscape in the region?
Hi, Assalamu alaikum, Wajahat. Thank you so much for the invitation. I understand we have very limited time and other people will also get an opportunity, so I'll just jump right into it. So EdTech in Pakistan is obviously at a very, very early stage, and we hopefully will see a lot of growth. There is a lot of value to be unlocked, new solutions to be explored, new markets, user adoption, user behavior, all those things that sort of need to develop. Simple things like payment is such a big issue. Some of the big early years companies are still looking for cash on delivery based receipts just to send the password to unlock the app, because Google Pay account holders are a very, very small number of the market. So I think a lot of the steps in the value chain have to be explored. User adoption in itself is at an infancy, especially we just have had a history of never having to pay for software. So that entire mindset has to be adopted, where you feel that something you're not getting in your hand has some value where you need to pay for it. If you want to compare Pakistani market with India, I think the comparison shouldn't be done based on the metrics against population and the metric of economic growth. Generally, in terms of population, Pakistan is about 1:6, 1:5. In terms of economic factor, you can do another multiple of 5, multiple of 4, per capita income and GDP growth. But I think in terms of the user behavior and adoption, you have seen 1:100, 1:200 growth in terms of the amount of money invested, or just last year $2 billion were invested, and I don't think in Pakistan we had $20 million worth of investment, maybe $3 or $4 million. So we're still it's several 100x far behind. And I think one big reason is also because in Pakistan, although public-private education difference about 50%, about 50% of the kids are enrolled in public schools, about another 50%, at least in the primary and middle school level. And in India, more people are enrolled in public education system, less are enrolled in private education in terms of percentages. But there is a direct correlation to outcomes. So there is the Indian economy, I believe, is a more merit-based economy across all sectors of the industry. In Pakistan, the entire public sector, for employment purposes, you cannot believe as a parent that if I send my kid to a very good education, he or she has an opportunity, a fair opportunity to be hired by a public institution because of so many other factors. So only the private sector is the one where you feel there is some level of meritocracy, that if I do well in exams, if I complete my software engineering degree or my engineering degree, I'll have an opportunity to get hired. So that link is only established at a very high level, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And that's where putting in more money in solutions that will help, that will increase the chances of my kid doing well in the job market, that's when the investment is coming in. But at a primary level, middle school level, the direct link is still missing. So I think these are some of the factors that are hindering the growth for some of us. With time, I think many of these factors have to be improved. Some of those factors will be improved by some of us by coming up with an innovative solution, and for others, just market would also be more receptive to paying for these solutions over time.
Thank you, Hassan. If you could just conclude with a note that how far Sabak has been successful in this whole journey in last 3 to 4 years. So if you could sum up that as well for the interest of our audience, so they will get to know about Sabak solution and what are exactly those challenges that you have overcome in last 3 to 4 years.
Okay, so Sabak is a preschool to grade 5 learning solution company. We produce resources for kids and for teachers and for schools. We have several products now. Our flagship app is kindergarten to grade 5 app. We recently launched another app for Muse Kids, purely for ages 2 to 6 to capture the preschool market. We have launched a product called Muse Worksheets, which is a teacher resource portal with thousands of printable resources, lesson plans, worksheets, ebooks, that have been downloaded by hundreds of thousands of times during the last 1 year. We primarily worked for the first 3 years. We worked primarily for the B2B market, selling our solution to government and for-profit and non-profit schools. But since COVID struck, that market has dried up. Although we have made some advances in our B2G, that is business to government sector, but the B2B, the school sector, has dried up quite significantly. So we now have shifted and pivoted more to capture the B2C market, where we feel there is more propensity to pay, there is more willingness to pay. But again, we have not been able to get to a point where we could, say there is a hockey stick growth curve. There is a pretty decent growth curve in terms of adoption, usage, engagement, retention, but still in terms of monetization, I think there are a few more elements we need to unlock in terms of value creation, value communication, and value acceptance by the audience.
Thanks a lot, Hassan. Coming to Fahad. Fahad, first of all, congrats. CxO has been successful in getting some good interest from the international VC players. So what you have achieved in such a short time is really commendable. So, my question to you is twofold in a sense that what are those factors which are hampering the growth of Pakistani EdTech players in not getting the interest or the limelight in the eyes of the international VCs? Where we are failing in this part?
Thanks, first of all, having me on this forum, and I'll be very succinct. I think you asked a very pertinent question. So first of all, I don't think we're exceptional. I think what we do, we just try to give it our best and put the best case forward for what we are trying to build. I agree to some extent with Hassan, but I think where I disagree is a little bit is on the hockey stick growth. So we launched our app in April, and we are going toe to toe with one of the Series B company that's operating in the same space with over 100,000 users coming on board in less than 2 months. And we're seeing monetization, we're seeing high engagement rates. So it's not really a challenge in terms of, I think, the ideas. They're fantastic ideas, fantastic companies coming up. The challenge will always be execution. How the quality of teams people build and how well they execute on their ideas and agendas is what will attract investment. We're seeing large ticket investment in other sectors. So I don't think Pakistan is a market that is questionable. You're seeing Series B, Series A investments in companies that are exclusively operating in a very small subset of Pakistan, just maybe perhaps Karachi or Lahore or a few cities. So it's all about making the case and proving what, putting things on ground which you say will happen, showing that it will happen, right? And money will follow. Money is just a tool. Where I think where people are going to get interest into Pakistani EdTech is where we start looking at the EdTech evolution and journey in the right order. So just like how Hassan said, we're trying to do everything at the same time. We're trying to get user acquisition, engagement, monetization all in parallel. That doesn't happen. to be very honest. You first, I mean, think of any product, right? Like you first got to have the distribution. You want to sell a packet of chips. If it's not in stores, you're saying, oh, it doesn't monetize. You've got to first put it in stores in the hands of the users, let them taste it, let them experience it, let them think and make an opinion around it, and let them compare it to other alternatives, right? Before they decide to part with their money. So it's a stepwise process. We look at across the border and these multi-billion-dollar EdTech companies, and we say, yeah, that can happen overnight. There is a 14-year, 15-year, 20-year journey to get there. You've got to go deep and to understand how they got to that position. It didn't happen overnight. Just tend to focus on the success and the high valuations. Secondly, I think there's a lot of money available to raise investment. I don't think that's an issue. I think the first step or challenge was to prove the market. I think other startups have proven the market that there is a market for consumption here for direct-to-consumer services and goods. What is EdTech has still to prove is that are we thinking big enough? Are we building the right teams? Are we building teams that can compete with global competitors? For that, we need capital, right? Like if I want a quality engineer to work in my team, I need to pull that person from another great startup or another great company. I need to pay their salary. So when you budget and model on a very bare bone sort of structure, you can't attract great talent. You can't attract great talent. You can't build great products. You can't build great products. You don't get the user engagement and the acquisition. You don't get that. Forget about monetization. So it starts with somebody taking that first leap, and then you also, as entrepreneurs, thinking bigger and stronger, and having faith in your ability and ability to galvanize people together. I think there's a lot of great talent out there, great people, great companies. But I think they're not just visible to the right people in the right way. So I think we're doing a little bit to open up that crack. You'll see a lot of people coming into our market in the EdTech space. We've already seen people from the Middle East eyeing this market very, very much so. I think we have better teams, more competitive teams, better quality people here. We just need to, think bigger. Why don't we go into their markets? I mean, like CASA is. So if they have money, they can part with that, and we can provide great solutions to markets around the world. So I think it's just a mindset thing. It's not really any particular bottleneck in the way.
So Fahad, could you please, for the interest of our audience, if you could please just brief that what exactly CxO is doing, which segment it is targeting, and what is the solution fit that you are pitching to your customers?
Sure. So we're very focused. We work with high school students, class 9 through 12, and we help them prepare for their exams. As simple as that. Because half of the kids preparing for high school level exams, especially in the sciences, don't end up doing so well. In fact, half of them would roughly, are unable to pass those exams. So our promise is very simple as CxO. We're going to help you prepare for these exams and do it throughout the year. And we're doing it on a platform that's pretty much growing on its own, which is the smartphone. We're providing them an actual solution to their problem. Outside of the top 4 or 5 cities, which we call CLIP, Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Peshawar, Islamabad, Pindi, and Peshawar, there's very little resource that can help you prepare well and help you be competitive in these exams to go on to higher education, technical information. So here we come in. Here's what CxO comes in and says, regardless of wherever you are in Pakistan, no matter which board you are preparing for, even outside of Pakistan, there's a lot of federal board students in countries across the MENA region where Pakistanis and expats attend school to compete for these exams. All of them need to prepare for these exams. And COVID has actually made it very, very challenging for them to prepare anywhere. So CxO's promises that we will help you prepare and we will get you up there so that you can do well on these exams. And I think that has resonated with a lot of students and we much more than we expected, actually. We launched on April 6th. We just yesterday crossed 100,000 users on the platform. We're growing pretty fast and highly engaged. We're seeing monetization. It gives us a sense that we're close to a real product market fit. We're not there yet, but we are absolutely on the right track.
Thank you, Fahad. Thank you. Thank you, Mahnoor, for joining in this program. I must say that, still in this 21st century, even about this program, we need to ensure that we should have a good internet bandwidth connection and some good power supply before coming live. So still, We all are living in Pakistan, some of the largest city, and still we are facing these fundamental issues when it comes to the digital infrastructure. So I just recently read out that there is some study happening gone from economics intelligence unit and Facebook, and Pakistan was ranked second worst in South Asia in the digital infrastructure radar. There was a whole piece of article coming out from Amir Saab as well, who is the CEO of Jazz, highlighting this core issue. So at one end that we have this kind of grave situation in the digital infrastructure side. So someone, you as working on the telco sector, so how the telco sector is responding, or how the government or this sector is responding, how your company is responding and helping EdTech players to overcome this challenge?
Thank you, Wajahat, firstly, for having me. I'm a little conscious commenting on connectivity as of now, especially being here. I don't want to jinx it, but I hope we survive this session with no internet breaks. But absolutely, look, we've been working in the space for a while. So Reton, has been here since 2004. But again, as you mentioned, the switch towards the digital infrastructure, or just infrastructure throughout the country, will take time. And the positive aspect of it is that it is being now a focus, not just for the private sector, but also for the public sector. And I think no space can do well without a collaboration from both, especially a market as big, untapped, and as vast as Pakistan. I think there's a lot of support that needs to come in. And we might have gotten a bit of a late head start, and that tends to happen, unfortunately. But having said that, I think a lot of these statistics all over the world, whether we're second last or worst, and all of these indexes, I think they'll improve over time. Obviously, it's not going to be an overnight effort, and it is a very collaborative effort. So you're seeing that effort, and I hope that the wider public is seeing it too, whether it's policies from the government sector. So you've seen right away policies from the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority that has, I wouldn't say removed barriers completely, but it has helped alleviate a lot of barriers that did exist, and have enabled companies like us to want to come in a lot more strongly to get the right investment in place. I think, it has been mentioned just here as well that Pakistan has proven itself to be a very competent market. And, we are seeing startups gather good funding from whether it's international players or even local players, but it's also other established players are also signing up for a lot more investment coming in, whether they're doing it themselves or they're bringing it from outside. It's happening. So that's been encouraging to see. And there has been, a good move with infrastructure. And like I said, it is going to be a little bit of a painstaking task, and it's going to take time. With us, for example, if I kind of put us into this equation, yes, absolutely, we are playing our part. It's a lot easier to work in more of the mainstream cities or the bigger cities, because obviously it is monetized. There's an ROI that's met, and for public and private sectors, that makes sense. But having said that, there's a huge rural market that remains untapped. So first, we approached it through satellite connectivity, which, as you would probably know, is quite expensive. And then, now we have low latency as well available. We have low orbit satellites available now that are coming in. We're coming in one of them just next year. There's another one coming in 2024. That's going to help quite a bit, just enough time to give the fiber penetration to kind of grow. So, that's one side of the connectivity, I think, journey that's been a priority ever since COVID. So I think the one positive that came out through the pandemic was just that to be escalated. Secondly, in the EdTech space, as Reton, we've done a little bit of work ourselves. A lack, so to say, of people who know what they're doing, or there isn't a lack of interest in the sector, but it's just lacking the resources as well. So schools, for instance, struggle with, they know what their strengths are. Their strengths are to educate students, they teach well, they have a good curriculum in place, and they execute that. But the digital journey was probably not as much of a priority, unfortunately, in the past. But COVID has, of course, made that become a priority in most schools and universities across Pakistan. So we played our part. We did something very simple. I mean, I know this is all about disruptive technologies, but I think starting simple will also be disruptive. And that entailed working on a learning management solution, not just telling them how great it is, but also showing them how it will, help them out. And then collaborative tools. So whether that's, video conferencing solutions, whether that's chat solutions, whether that's just Google Docs and Sheets, stuff like that was quite useful to use. So we deployed those solutions, we enabled those solutions, we got that data transformed, transferred from paper onto the digital medium. We helped with the cloud journey as well. And then obviously a lot of support throughout the year, which companies aren't prepared to give, but you just have to, especially if you're working in the education sector. Recently, we've also partnered with Google as their focus partner for Pakistan. So we're working quite specifically on the education space as to what all we can enable schools with. I mean, it's a huge space. It's an exciting space. It's amazing to see such content coming about as well. And I think there's a lot that can be done and is being done. So I'm quite hopeful though.
Okay, thank you, Manu. I mean, we have Faisal with us as well, who represent Learning Heart. And basically, Faisal is someone who has recently collaborated with some international players in Africa and in Middle East market. I think one of your area of expertise is around user experience. So could you please share some of your experience that how Pakistani EdTech players can use or can utilize those experiences, or what is the importance or what piece is missing in the learning experience part when it comes to the EdTech player? Faisal, are you there?
I'm here. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you, Wajahat and CxO for having us. And
Faisal, are you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Faisal, please. Yeah, I can hear you.
Again.
Yeah, have you heard my question?
I've heard your question.
Yeah, please.
And this exactly tells you the kind of struggles we have. This is a panel or a group which is right at the top of the pyramid, if you would, in terms of infrastructure and content and technology and gadgets. And so, first of all, thank you very much, CxO Global Forum, for making this happen, for letting us sit down and have this discussion. The panel that you've put together is great, and it's an honor and privilege to be a part of this group. Wajahat, talking about your question, experience is something that we have realized that is the basic missing link, the basic building block that's missing. We have content, we have all of these things, and what do we mean by experience is going to take about 15 seconds to explain that. Experience is all of these things that Hassan, Fahad, Mahnoor, and a lot of other people are doing, bringing them and giving them, putting them out together. A school, I always draw an analogy by putting out, let's say, a physical school versus a digital school or a digital learning environment. You put out a school building in form of an LMS, for example. You put out books and reading material and teaching aids in terms of content. But what is missing is that user experience that a teacher would create. And that is why you don't just look at the statistics that Hassan was mentioning earlier, that the difference between the Pakistani public sector schools versus the Indian public sector schools. That's exactly the difference, because what that experience has been is missing. We've been fortunate enough to work with around almost more than 2 dozen educational institutes, both in Pakistan as well as abroad. And out of these, what we did was we had about 30% of these, so somewhere around 6 or 7 of these schools were low-class schools. And I'm talking about schools or educational institutes where they have children of maids and drivers and these the lower social strata. Now, they should ideally have an equal right and equal opportunity to get that thing. And EdTech is the solution. So that's the first bit. Everyone else, Fahad has mentioned about it, Mahnoor mentioned about it. And that is where the opportunity lies. The experience that we talk about is how everything comes around, how everything comes directly to bringing all of these things together. So the platform, how the user works in, what the user goes through, what you're making them try to learn, and the actions that they bring in. And the actions that they need to take are the most important ones. So that's
sorry. Yeah, thanks a lot. Just as we are running out of time, as we all are presenting to CxO Forum. So CxO Forum is a platform where, I mean, they have all the C-level suits from the corporate sitting in this platform. So with this platform, I want all of you to respond to one of the questions that, I mean, what piece of advice, or do you have any, support or advice any question from the corporates that you need to come out from these sessions, because this will be shared with the all of the corporates who are part of this forum. So I'm starting with Hassan, that if you feel that there is something that corporates can do for the EdTech player, just a precise one.
So it's very important for corporates to look at these emerging spaces, these new industries that are coming up, and the companies of today will join the corporate world in the next few 4, 5, 6 years. A lot of these corporations have some divisions where they do some innovation in-house and they look at these new industries. I think they need to at least look at these emerging spaces, whether it is e-commerce, fintech, edtech, and be willing to partner with some of these downstream partners, because some of our colleagues in the innovation space, they sometimes want to connect with these large corporations, make them their clients, offer them services, connect with them, do a back-end or front-end value chain engagement. But these corporations don't really understand how a 2 or 3 member team could really work with no cash flows, no history. So I think that kind of openness has to come in, and that willingness to come in with these young players. So because these young players today, those are 3, 4, 5 member company, they'll have 100 people working in their company in the next 3 to 4 years, and they will become.
Thank you, Hassan. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Sorry to interrupt you. Fahad, same.
Yeah, I think since the forum is for executives in different corporations, I think they need to look at startups, especially the edtech space, as an investable entity. Right? Like, look at the numbers, look at the growth, look at the opportunity, put money down. Believe in your own people. We are building this in this market with Pakistani people. We're building the future of education in Pakistan. Invest. It's not going to drown your company, all right? But if you bring in your expertise, experience, and your capital into hardworking teams that are going to build the future, you're going to gain multiple folds, right? So I'm not asking these executives to look at it blindly and a leap of faith. Look at our numbers. For example, I'll give you an example. We partnered with one of the largest telcos in Pakistan. We make more money as an ARPU than they would make in a long shot, right? So helping us grow actually, and being an investor or somehow involved in the growth of a company like ours can actually impact their bottom line. We've seen this happen before, where they've invested in new ideas and increased the valuation of their businesses. So ultimately, we're all working to maximize value for our shareholders, right? So here's an opportunity to do that multiple folds, invest in early stage ideas, help them grow, use your experience and capital to build new solutions to problems that exist in this market. That's what I would ask them to think about.
Thank you.
And engage with us.
Thank you, Fahad. Thanks a lot. Same question with Mahnoor, if you have something to share with the executives sitting at the CxO forums, any suggestion or any feedback or any question or any ask.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep it brief, or I'll try to. Basically, I feel the forum is obviously has a lot of potential because it has some of the most influential people from Pakistan on there. And I think the biggest thing they could do is support and promote. One way is obviously with injections coming in, but there's a lot more they can also do, whether it's just supporting in terms of one piece of development they can do, if they can promote it, if they can take them or take companies to their own client base to expose, thousands of corporates they're already working with. So I think just, making the right introductions, hand-holding, support, promotion, I think that's a lot and can go a really long way through a platform like CxO.
Yeah, and same. And yesterday we had a news coming out from Pakistan Kuwait Investment Group investing in Planet N, and basically they had made an investment of around like 500 million. So every passing day, every passing month, year, I mean, this is getting bigger and bigger. So definitely this corporate injection will help a lot in the startup ecosystem. Faisal, do you have anything to share around this? Asking corporates for anything that you would like to share?
30 seconds. I'll just take 30 seconds for this. The one thing I think the corporates can and should start right away is telling us the edtech space of what output they want or what input they want. Our output is their input. So what kind of an input are they looking for? What kind of skills they're looking at? What kind of education do they require? That's something that needs to start right away. Create a liaison. Come to us, talk to anyone or any of the edtechs, start off with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you, Rizwan, Hassan, Rizwan. Thank you, Fahad. Thank you, Mahnoor. It was wonderful speaking to you. And inshallah, looking forward some more sessions coming soon. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you everyone for your time. We're going to move on to the next session. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who want to get in touch with any of these lovely ladies and gentlemen, their links are shared in the description. Thank you, Syed, Wajahat, for being a great host.
Thank you. Bye.